Have you ever encountered a document so convoluted, so deliberately opaque, that it just seems to defy understanding?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if that document wasn't just rules, but it was trying to be a profound philosophical statement, and maybe a celebrity tell-all, and a really dense academic paper, all rolled into one, illuminating and obscuring somehow at the same time?
Yeah, that sounds less like a standard directive and more like a direct challenge to the very nature of communication itself, doesn't it?
Totally.
Like a puzzle wrapped in an enigma, sealed with some kind of bureaucratic bow, but maybe with a secret celebrity message tucked inside.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
And today, we're doing a deep dive into something truly extraordinary. It's a document known as a Grandiloquent and Inenubilable Directive, the prolix promulgation of podcasterial precepts.
Wow. That's a title?
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's not just a quirky title. They mean it as a foundational text for what the creators see as a whole new era of, get this, oral discourse.
Oral discourse. Okay.
Yeah. And this directive, it was issued by an organization with an equally grand name, the In Perpetuity Provisional Subconsortium for the Hyperepistemological Elucidation of Oral Discourse.
Okay, that's a mouthful. Is there an acronym? Please tell me there's an acronym.
Mercifully, yes. IPPSAA. Still not exactly catchy, but...
PSAEA. Right. So our mission today for you listening is really to navigate this incredibly dense material, and not just the directive itself, but several wildly different interpretations of it, too.
Exactly. The directive itself is described, I love this phrase, as a labyrinthine tapestry of polemical and sententious verbiage.
So a deliberate maze of words.
Precisely. Our goal here is to extract the most important nuggets, the key insights, and help you cut through all that intentional confusion. We've got the directive, 2 opposing opinion pieces, a gossip column, believe it or not, and a very academic analysis.
So what does this whole bizarre saga really mean for the future of communication, maybe, or for how we engage with information? How we find meaning in a world that feels increasingly complex?
That's the core question, isn't it? Let's unpack this.
Oh.
Right. So to really get our heads around this madness, we have to start at the source, the directive itself, a grandiloquent and inenubilable directive, and the IPPS Heat Ed's vision for podcasting's future.
And it's clear right from the preamble, isn't it? They are not messing around. They have some serious disdain for the current state of, well, podcasting.
Oh, absolutely. Their declared aim, and they use these exact words, is to repudiate, jettison, and expunge.
Strong verbs.
Right, expunge. They want to get rid of what they call the nascent nescence. So like the budding ignorance and the garrulous magnum opus infused frivolity of current podcasts.
Magnum opus infused frivolity. What does that even... It sounds specific, but means nothing concrete.
Exactly. It feels like they're saying podcasts now are too simple, too chatty, maybe too happy, too accessible.
It certainly seems that way. They view the current landscape as something that needs to be, well, purged. Simplistic, uncritical, full of meaningless chatter in their eyes.
And it's not just rules, is it? They frame it very differently.
Not at all. They present it as a philosophical framework, even a peripatetic journey into the abstruse and the anachronistic.
A wandering journey into the obscure and outdated.
Okay. And their explicit purpose, this is key, is to foster convoluted, multivious, and ontologically fractious communication.
Wait, say that again. Ontologically?
Ontologically fractious, meaning communication that's inherently fractured at the level of being or reality itself. They don't want clarity.
They want it tangled, difficult, contradictory.
Precisely. Convoluted, having many paths, and fundamentally broken or inconsistent. It's almost like they think true insight only comes from chaos. Or maybe it's just about sounding smarter by making things impossible to understand.
It could be. And who is this labyrinth aimed at? It's not for everyone, right?
No, they're very specific. It's for progenitors and promulgators of episodic sonic transmissions, commonly referred to as podcasts.
So basically anyone making a podcast, hosts, producers, distributors, everyone.
No exceptions mentioned. You create audio episodes, you're in their sites.
Okay, and then gets into the actual rules. The mandates for us, the hosts, or as they call us. Get ready for this. Logistispoticists.
Logistispoticists. Wow, that's quite a title.
Implying despotic control over logic and discourse, right? intense.
It really is. So the first rule they lay out, rule I.1, is about thematic coherence and pseudo-paradoxicalization.
Pseudo-paradoxicalizations. Okay, let's try to break that down.
It's a brain twister, for sure. They mandate that each episode has to be a self-contained yet inextricably linked lacuna of discordant concordant accordances.
Self-contained, linked, void of clashing agreements. Okay.
Yeah.
My head hurts already.
Exactly. It's not about having a clear theme or story. It's about building in deliberate tension, internal contradictions right into the structure. Imagine an episode that feels finished, but also fragmented and fighting itself the whole time.
Like a song in two different keys played simultaneously.
Kind of, yeah. And the thematic core, it has to be overtly present and cryptosynthetically absent.
See, the main topic is obviously there, but also secretly not there. How do you even achieve that?
Well, here's the kicker. The ostensible topic, what you say you're talking about, that's just a mere ruse, a flummery of superficiality.
A distraction. Flummery. Love that word.
It hides supposedly a deeper, more nefarious and endocryptic narrative, something hidden and sinister.
Okay, so there is a real topic, it's just hidden.
Ah, but wait. There's a twist on the twist. This deeper narrative, it has to be ontologically self-repudiating. It has to actively contradict itself. A prohither to a conhither.
So the surface topic is fake, and the secret topic is also fake because it cancels itself out.
Pretty much. Any attempt to find a stable meaning is designed to be futile. It's like a commentary on maybe how surface-level media hides complex realities that don't even make sense themselves. Or maybe just a fancy way to say, we're messing with you.
It makes producing anything coherent seem impossible. And they even dictate titles, right? No simple deep dive for us.
Absolutely not. Titles have to be anacolophonic, meaning they break grammatical sequence, and brimming with apotropaic epithets. Words meant to ward off evil, basically.
It's like their example. The endocryptic fardle of the dactylioglyphic ectasiast.
Rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it? It's designed to be confusing right from the start. Maybe filter out people, create an exclusive club feel.
You know, it really does challenge the whole idea of a clear, digestible podcast, doesn't it? We try to make complex things accessible, but this aims for the exact opposite.
It's a deliberate upending of expectations. It forces you, the listener, to ask, what am I even listening to? Is understanding even the point here?
It feels like it pushes back hard against the listener's desire for clarity, maybe to make you feel inadequate, or to make the podcast seem super intellectual just by being obscure.
Could be. Which leads perfectly into Rule 1.2, prohibition of mirthful minutia.
Ah, yes. This one felt personal. It's a direct attack on, well, shows like ours, that conversational style.
I can see why. The directive states, flat out, convivial and jocund discourse is a plague.
Plague, wow.
No conspicuous mirth, levity, or jactation. So no obvious fun, lightness, or boastful display. Laughter, wit, anything that makes the listener feel connected or at ease. That's dismissed as superficial artifice.
Superficial artifice. And subject to logomachy. Which means what, exactly?
Intense verbal dispute. Basically, if you're caught being witty, you'll be argued down. They see warmth as just a distraction from serious thought.
So, my natural enthusiasm, your con observations, any moment we might share a chuckle over something absurd like, well, like this directive. All forbidden.
Completely outlawed. The required tone is restless listlessness and incipient yet perpetually latent chagrin.
Restless listlessness and barely contained annoyance. Charming. So we're supposed to sound bored, detached, and vaguely irritated all the time.
That seems to be the goal. Imagine the mood they're trying to create for the listener. Constant unease, maybe even a low level of dread.
And the way we're supposed to talk.
Oh, yes. Verbalization must be grandiloquent and jejune. So pompous but childishly simplistic underneath prolix and pithiobris. Long-winded, yet trying to be brief in a failed way. A brumous, perfunctory verbalization that serves only to obfuscate rather than elucidate.
Foggy, surface-level talk designed to confuse, not clarify. It's like a satire of bad academic writing or something.
Exactly. Using big words to say nothing or to deliberately muddy the waters, form over substance completely.
I mean, imagine trying to do this deep dive under those rules. We aim for clarity, connection. If the deep dive had to follow this, how long would we last? Would listeners even get past the first, what do they call it, conslow?
Huh. We'd definitely lose our logistus boticist badges pretty quickly. But seriously, it highlights how much we rely on clear, engaging communication. This isn't just about banning jokes, it's about stripping out all emotional connection, aiming for this cold, purely intellectual space.
A complete inversion of what most podcasts try to do, which leads right into Rule 1.3. the one about language itself. The Inenubilable jargonometric precept.
Yes. Inenubilable. Impossible to clear from clouds, basically impossible to make clear. Jargonometric. Measuring by jargon. So the rule of making things unclear using jargon.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Right.
The mandate. Eschew all semblance of pedestrian parlance.
No everyday language. At all. Instead, hosts must festoon their monologue with an abundance of obscure sesquipedalian and multi-viascient neologisms.
Load up with obscure, long, multi-knowledgeable new words. Basically make up a private language.
That's the core of it. An esoteric lexicon only a few can understand. And if you have to use a normal word,
Then it must be rendered unintelligible through intentional semantic obfuscation and grammatical dysphoria.
semantic obfuscation, grammatical dysphoria, making meaning confusing and grammar uncomfortable. They give examples, don't they?
Oh, brilliant ones. Hello becomes, wait for it, parathyroidogenic salutatory flexation.
Sounds like a medical diagnosis for saying hi.
Exactly. And goodbye is ultra-megacryptic apoptotic cessation of proximal proximities.
Super secret cell death ending of things being near each other. Okay.
Even technical talk requires endocryptic megakitches telbrus fluxisms.
Hidden, super tacky, darkness-related flows. It's performance art, isn't it? The point is the inaccessibility. The language itself is the wall.
It's not just sounding smart, it's actively locking people out. Which brings us, maybe inevitably, to Rule 1.4, the sarcophagus subzone of discomforted subzoners.
Sarcophagus, flesh-eating. A flesh-eating zone of discomfort. This one is just, wow.
Yeah. Each episode must contain a prolonged period of profound, intentional discomfort. They call it a conslu, or a hubristic progroke.
A conslu, maybe like a constructed slough of despond. A hubristic progroke.
An arrogant, guttural sound of despair. It's not accidental, is it? It's planned discomfort.
Totally planned. It's described as a carefully orchestrated lacuna of silence. But not just silence. It's punctuated by sounds of mastication.
Chewing. Loudly.
Yes. Or a borborygmus.
Stomach rumbling.
Or the hum of a latent thermogenic effluvium.
The hum of a hidden heat-producing discharge, like a poorly shielded reactor. Or just someone's bad digestion. Who knows? But the point is, visceral discomfort. It's designed, they say, to create a sense of palpable tension, a quietude so profound it borders on the liminality of a panic attack.
Bordering on a panic attack, that's the goal. It really makes you ask, what does discomfort achieve in communication? Real vulnerability can build connection, but this feels manufactured, arbitrary, an enforced awkwardness.
Not leading to insight, just unease. And finally, for hosts, Rule 1.5, which covers interviews. Stipulated multimetamorphic convolutions of conversational artifice.
Or, as they call the process, interminigarchy.
Interminable anarchy, maybe.
Sounds about right. Under this, the host has to relentlessly and mercilessly interrupt, interject, and pivot the conversation away from the ostensible topic.
So no following a thought, no getting answers, just constant derailment.
And using specific tactics, like Dophus Perictus, feigned reverence for a totally unrelated subject, suddenly start praising, I don't know, antique doorknobs in the middle of a political discussion.
Okay, or a conclave prandial.
Describing, in detail, a sumptuous meal you supposedly just ate or are about to eat, completely out of context.
So the goal isn't insight, it's explicitly theatrical, cacophonous, or discolational spectacle of verbal repudiations and gratuitous, purposeless declamations.
A noisy, disjointed show of pointless arguments. Imagine trying to conduct a meaningful interview like that. Every question met with a detailed menu description. It's conversational sabotage.
Pure performance, designed to frustrate. Okay, so those are the host rules, but there are broader directives too in Section 2, like Rule 2.1, attribution and pseudo-fictional subfrictions.
This one really messes with the idea of truth, doesn't it? It says all information, fact, anecdote, even sheer hallucination must be attributed to a fictional yet seemingly verisimilitudinous source.
Fake but realistic sounding, so you just make up your experts, your studies, your sources.
Exactly. It fundamentally undermines verifiable knowledge. Fiction becomes fact, or maybe all fact just becomes a type of fiction.
And they give that amazing example. The inarticulate ruminations of Professor Millicent F. Womble-Fustulugs, as excerpted from her posthumous monograph, Splenchnology, and the hitherto unexplored multivia scientia of the nibbling.
It sounds so specific. Splenchnology is the study of visceral organs. Multivia scientia seems to mean many-pathed knowing. And a nibbling is a gender-neutral term for a niece or nephew. So, the gut knowledge and complex knowing of nieces, nephews, by Professor Womble Fisselugs.
It's beautifully absurd. And real citations, using actual sources.
That's deemed intellectual cowardice. A direct hit on academic rigor, on shared truth. It's permission to just make things up.
Then Rule 2.2, prohibition of personal pronouns. No I, me, my.
Right. Hosts have to refer to themselves in the third person. And not just by name, but using increasingly absurd and self-aggrandizing pseudonyms.
Like the venerable prognosticator of disfardels. The respected predictor of unburdenings.
It's part of their pro-despotic kitschism framework. Self-aggrandizement disguises a rule, cheaps out personality, or replaces it with pompous titles. Very elitist.
And the ending. Rule 2.3, the perfidilucidate epilogue. No summary, no wrap-up.
Instead of clarity, you get more confusion. The episode ends with a verbose and circuitous monologue that pretends to clarify, but actually introduces a new, even more confounding layer of philosophical and technical jargon.
It has to be intentionally counterintuitive. A non sequitur of such magnificent proportion, it leaves the listener in profound and utter befuddlement.
And that, they state, fulfills the IPPS-HE's central tenet. The main goal is confusion, perpetual confusion. They don't want you informed, they want you lost in their maze.
Wow. Which brings us to Rule 2.4, the weirdest one maybe, the unsanctioned use of the term paradox.
This specific word paradox is a protected and highly regulated locution, like it's sacred.
You can only use it for demonstrable and verifiable philosophical, logical, or scientific paradox. And who decides?
Mysterious paradoxical adjudicators. You need pre-broadcast review and written approval just to say the word paradox.
Unauthorized use is a grievous semantic transgression. Why? Why regulate one word so intensely?
Good question. A paradox points to deep contradiction, right? Maybe they want to control what counts as truly puzzling, or control how confusion itself is framed, claim a monopoly on profundity, even if it's self-inflicted profundity.
Could be. And finally, Section 3, the penalties. This isn't optional. It's a binding, irrevocable, and utterly despotic contract.
And any slip-up, even a momentary lapse into pellucid prose,
Accidentally being clear,
or a spontaneous display of convivial effervescence,
laughing spontaneously,
leads to a mega-defenestrational plex of punitive measures.
Mega-defenestrational plex, a complex involving being thrown out of many windows. The punishments are severe.
Extremely. Financial impositions of an exorbitant nature, forfeiture of all future broadcast privileges, and in cases of egregious and persistent defiance, penal servitude.
Financial ruin, being banned, or actual jail time for being clear or happy.
The stated purpose for all this: to elevate the art of podcasting to a state of sublime, esoteric inscrutability, thereby serving as a prophylactic against the creeping tendrils of pedestrian banality.
A preventative measure against common everyday stuff. They think they're saving podcasting by making it impossible for most people to listen to.
So, yeah, what does it all mean? It's an extreme, maybe satirical, set of rules designed to make podcasts deliberately incomprehensible, uncomfortable, detached. A system built to repel understanding and enforce rigid, elitist control over meaning itself.
It really forces you to think about why we communicate at all. Is it always to share meaning? Or can it be used to obscure, to filter, to assert power just by being confusing? Okay, so we've waded through the directive itself. Now, how did the world actually react to this pronouncement?
As you might expect, the reactions were strong and polarized. We've got two opinion pieces here that could not be more different. One loves it, one despises it.
It really shows how something this weird can be seen through completely opposite lenses, doesn't it? Reflects wider arguments about accessibility versus, I guess, intellectual rigor.
Exactly. First up, we have Moggy Gubbers. She's a senior pundit for a publication called Subpar News.
Subpar News. Okay, that name might give us a clue.
Her piece is titled An Apotropaic Bulwark Against the Conflagralis, a Prudent and Perfunctory Policy.
A magic shield against wordy confusion. A sensible surface-level policy.
True.
Wow, she's clearly a fan.
Oh, she is all in. She calls the directive portentous, significant, like it descended upon us like a long overdue rain, washing clean the fetid, fustilugs-ridden quagmire of so-called podcasting.
Fetid, fustilugs-ridden quagmire. So a stinking swamp full of old-fashioned, moldy things. She thinks current podcasts are that bad.
Apparently, for her, the directive isn't draconian, it's magnanimous and wholly necessary. She genuinely seems to believe the airwaves were a cacophonodiscolational stew of verbal detritus. A noisy, disjointed mess needing this authoritarian cleanup.
And she actually praises some of the specific rules we found so baffling.
She does. Remember the pseudo-frictional subfictions, the fake sources? She argues they're not against communication, but a higher form of it, an elegant and erudite exploration of the latent endocryptic meanings.
So the fakeness helps find hidden truth. That's a take.
A definite take. And the prohibition of the feely, convivial nature. She calls that pure, unadulterated genius.
Genius. Not allowing laughter is genius.
She dismisses people who like friendly podcasts, calling them promerthupricists, as superficial. She argues true intellectual growth only happens in the rigorous and unsettling confines of the sarcophagus subzone. That discomfort, even profound, albeit quiet terror, is necessary for deep thinking, in her view.
Terror helps you think. Okay. And what about people who disagree with her? The critics.
She calls them pitiable and plebeian antinomalidites.
Pathetic, common people who resist rules and progress. Ouch.
People who brabble about the directive's so-called complexity. For Gubbers, the complexity is the point. It's a test of acumen, a necessary filter. Only those with requisite philosophical fortitude should be podcasting or even listening. It's incredibly elitist.
Separating the intellectual wheat from the banal chaff, as she might put it, and the penalties. Financial ruin, jail time.
She thinks they're severe and justly so. Even a rite of passage, using the word paradox without permission. For her, that's not just wrong, it's intellectual desecration. A deep offense against profound thought itself, which IPPS Ed now rightly controls.
So, her conclusion.
The directive is that apotropic bulwark against pedestrian banality. A magical shield. It's a triumphant manifestation of pure, unbridled intellectual despoticism. And she ends with, our airwaves at long last are saved.
Wow. That's fervent, almost cult-like devotion to intellectual control. Okay, so that's one side. What about the opposition?
Completely the other end of the spectrum. We have Lowy Wobertson, opinion editor for Megahole News, another publication name that maybe signals a certain style.
Megahole News. Got it. Let me guess, he's not a fan.
Not even slightly. His piece is titled, The Prolix Propensity for Poppycock, a Despotic and Unconscionable Decree.
Wordy tendency for nonsense. Despotic and morally outrageous. Okay, he's clear.
He comes out swinging, calls the decree a repugnant, supercilious act of bureaucratic hubris. A giant, rumbustious leap backward into a quagmire of senseless logomachy, a pointless war of words. He sees it as purely destructive.
And what about the specific rules? The fake sources, the no-fun rule?
He thinks the whole premise of turgid, pseudo-fictional subfiction shows the creators have no idea what makes a podcast compelling. And mandating no conviviality, that's pure despoticism, turning episodes into that sarcophagus subzone of awkward silence and inarticulate jabberwocky.
Jabberwocky, nice touch. He thinks connection is key then.
Absolutely. She argues listeners want genuine connection for an honest laugh and for an escape. Taking that away. He calls it an act of epistemic cruelty.
Epistemic cruelty. Cruelty related to knowledge. That's a powerful phrase. Denying people understandable information, forcing confusion on them.
Exactly. And the interview rule, interminigarchy, he calls it churlish and indefensible. Says it makes hosts imperious, vainglorious sycophants. Self-important, bragging flatterers. For him, it's simply the deliberate demolition of discourse, driven by puerile, argumentative, rancor, childish, angry arguments.
And the punishments. The fines, the potential jail time.
He finds those most egregious, most outrageously ill-conceived. He talks about the Kafkaesque absurdity of being ruined or imprisoned for using paradox incorrectly or failing to be confusing enough, calls it breathtaking overreach.
So who does he blame?
He sees it as a draconian overreach by apparatchiks, mindless bureaucrats, with a profound lack of self-awareness. Petty tyrants obsessed with control, basically, completely out of touch with what actual people want from media.
And his conclusion?
It's a clarion call to repudiate this edict. He says it's about control, not progress. He urges everyone to protect our right to produce and consume content that is joyous, free-flowing, and, forsooth, a little bit disorganized.
He champions the human messiness over the rigid, elitist control. So two completely opposite reactions. Zealotry versus outrage.
Exactly. Now, remember that academic we're going to talk about later, Professor Finchley Smythe?
Vaguely. The one with the incredibly long title.
That's him. He has a take on Gubbers and Wilbertson. He argues they aren't really debating meaningfully. He says they're engaged in a decasedecahedral jectation of heterogeneous contra-norkering.
Oh, what now? Dodecahedral is like a complex crystal shape. Jectation. boasting. Heterogeneous contra occurring, different kinds of mutual opposition. So, a complex, boastful sparring match with multiple contradictory sides.
Pretty much. He suggests that despite their opposing views, they both mirror the same pro-abjectism, a tendency towards the debased or wretched, and are sympatric prokaryotic strains of the same etiological pestilence.
Whoa. So they're like two types of bacteria living in the same place, causing the same disease, even though they look different. He thinks their arguments are just two sides of the same coin. Obfuscation versus grandiosity.
That's his liminal dialectic idea. It really makes you wonder about public debate, doesn't it? How even fierce opposition might just end up feeding the beast, adding to the noise and complexity rather than cutting through it.
Yeah. Do their loud arguments, even in opposition, just reinforce the directive's goal of making everything complicated and contested? Are they accidentally part of the problem?
It's a really challenging thought about how we interpret these intentionally confusing things.
Okay. So we've had the baffling directive, the wildly opposing pundits. Just when you think you've maybe kinda sorta got a handle on the absurdity.
Uh-oh. I sense another twist coming.
You sense correctly. Enter Ophelia Oglethorpe. She's a columnist for a publication called The Unreal Hubbub.
The Unreal Hubbub. Okay. Sounds gossipy.
Extremely. And her take completely flips everything we've just discussed. Forget bureaucratic rules. Forget philosophical debates.
So what does she think it is?
She claims the directive is actually the juiciest celebrity tell-all we've seen in years, disguised as a legal treatise.
A tell-all. Hidden in that dense jargon.
Yeah.
That's quite a claim. How does she figure that?
It is quite a claim. It reframes the whole thing, doesn't it? Suddenly, it's not about abstract ideas, it's about personal drama. She argues every bizarre rule, every convoluted phrase is a thinly veiled shot at a rich, famous, and deeply troubled individual.
So the IPPS ED is just a front for score settling. Passive-aggressive celebrity feuds playing out in bureaucratic language.
That's her. Exactly. Making the obscure suddenly feel very personal, very gossipy. Then there's pop star Lacia Crunk. Remember Rule 9.1, the discordant concordant accordances where episodes have to be self-contradictory?
The rule that made our heads spin.
Oglethorpe says that's a 100% accurate, no-holds-barred description of Lacia Crunk's notorious love life.
Her love life is discordant concordant accordances.
Apparently. Oglethorpe says Lacia's on-again, off-again liaison is a tangled mess of anacolothotic, grammatically broken, and recalcitrant stubborn spats. So the directive, she says, is just a posh, very passive-aggressive way of airing her dirty relationship laundry.
Wow. So a rule about narrative structure becomes a coded commentary on a celebrity's messy breakup cycle. That implies the writers know her personally or are involved somehow.
Right. And then there's the prohibition of convivial and jocund discourse, the no-fun rule, and the sarcophagus subzone of discomfort.
The awkward silence, the chewing sounds.
Yes. Oglethorpe claims this is a brutal takedown of Esmeralda Underwing's podcast, which was apparently famously saccharine and nauseatingly cheerful.
So the rule against cheerfulness is a dig at a specific cheerful person. Who's digging?
Her ex, according to Oglethorpe, Fenwick McFlocker, the CEO of Monkey Musk.
Monkey Musk, okay.
And the Conslaw, that mandated moment of discomfort. Oglethorpe claims that corresponds to a 10-minute silent gap on Esmeralda's last show, right after Fenwick texted her to break up. She calls it a masterpiece of restless listlessness. Public misery disguised as art.
That's incredibly specific and cruel, if true, turning a personal low point into a mandated feature of a bureaucratic document.
It's ruthless. Finally, Oglethorpe connects the jargon rule, the Inenubilable jargonometric precept, to her own rival, Griselda Gleibert.
Okay, now it's personal for Oglethorpe, too.
Seems so. She says Gleibert is known for her penchant for obscurantism and making up words. The rule about using obscure language is an assault on Gleibert.
And the part about needing a private, esoteric lexicon?
Oglethorpe hints that Gleibert used code words with her ex, Hesper Horncorner, creator of Dandruff's Flaky Flakes.
Dandruff's Flaky Flakes. These names are amazing.
Aren't they? Code words about their secret financial negotiations, which Oglethorpe says have been as brumous, as foggy and vague as the directive itself. So it's exposing private dealings and humiliating rivals all through the directive's language.
So Oglethorpe's grand theory.
That the whole document is a masterclass in obfuscation, designed to confuse the public while the true insouciant sybarites, the carefree, oblivious elite, get the hidden message. It's all about a deplorable circle of people airing their rancor in the most publicly private way imaginable.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how she turns this dry document into pure narrative, assigns personal motive and history to every clause. It makes you wonder how much seemingly formal communication is actually loaded with personal subtext.
Totally. It changes the whole game from regulatory framework to, like you said, weaponized gossip. And she ends by teasing who might be next. Jackson Gibbs, Urquhart Idlewoody, or Lenny Knickers. It turns it into an ongoing soap opera.
Adding serialized drama to an incomprehensible text, that's certainly one way to make it engaging.
Okay. We've had the directive, the pundits, the gossip columnist. Now let's brace ourselves for the final layer, the academic perspective. Professor Alistair Finchley-Smith III,
PhD D. Philobius Oakware, Regius Professor Emeritus of Interspecies Ontological Relationality.
don't forget Esquire, the title of his paper alone is, well, listen to this. A circuitous disquisition on the rheological and ontological disposition of the lunar paradigmatic gabelle of prosodic purifactions, with a provisional exposition of its peripatetic and Kafkaesque repercussions upon the interspecies ontological relationality.
Okay, let's try to parse that. A roundabout discussion on the flow and fundamental nature of the moon-based model tax of speech rhythm purifications, with a temporary explanation of its wandering and nightmarishly complex effects on how different species relate at a fundamental level.
Right. Exactly. Crystal clear. It's almost like he's following the directive's rules himself.
That's kind of his point, in a way. His core thesis is that all these different documents we've looked at, the directive, the opinion pieces, the gossip, they aren't separate things.
No. What are they then?
He calls them a singular dynamo-metamorphistic multi-cleave of pseudo-hypoparathyroidism.
Okay, you lost me again. Dynamo-metamorphistic. Changing form powerfully. Multi-cleave. Splitting in many ways. Pseudo-hypoparathyroidism. Fake underactive parathyroid condition. What does that mean?
I think he means they're all interconnected parts of one big, self-replicating, absurd phenomenon. Like a system that constantly generates more complexity and apparent illness, but it's all fake, or fake.
So it's all just itself.
Yeah.
Generating more of itself.
Kind of. His simpler summary, if you can call it that, is that the whole thing is a zymogenic fargle of apparatic Schaden, devoid of teleological kismet and replete with superfluous panache.
A fermenting bundle of bureaucratic harm. Lacking any destined purpose, but full of unnecessary flair. So basically a pointless, self-generating bureaucratic mess that looks fancy but means nothing.
That seems to be the gist. A non sequitur of allometric proportions. It doesn't follow logically, and its different parts are out of scale with each other. He suggests the whole thing might just be a conglomerate mondegreen of abjectism and prakismatism, a big jumbled mishearing combining wretchedness and a belief in destiny. Fundamentally meaningless, yet generating endless talk about itself.
It really makes you ask, can something be this complex, this analyzed, and still just be nothing? Noise.
That's what Finchley-Smith seems to argue. He looks at the directive first, not as rules, but as a trophogenetic artifact.
Generating its own nourishment, like it feeds itself.
Sort of. He sees its obscure language not as intentional obfuscation by people, but as a phylogenetic echo of primordial biomimetic processes. Like the complexity is an evolutionary trait, mimicking natural processes to protect itself.
He's giving the absurdity a kind of pseudo-scientific justification. It's complex because nature is complex.
Something like that. And the sarcophagus subzone, the discomfort rule, he calls that a zoonotic anagenetic response.
A disease-like regenerative response.
And a homeostatic mechanism designed to repudiate the effervescent hubris of promerthubercists. So the discomfort is the system's natural way of fighting back against excessive cheerfulness. It's the apotripolithic against the conforgarrulous, the stone shield against wordy nonsense, an exquisite tautomeric dance of semantic entropy.
A balanced dance of meaning falling apart. Okay. He finds beauty in the breakdown.
And the directive's chimerical nature, how it proposes something and denies it simultaneously, like the fake sources. He says that's the very epigenetic essence of its power, its ability to change its function without changing its core code, a paradoxical quarkist reality.
So the paradox is fundamental, like at a subatomic level, which means trying to regulate the word paradox.
It is ultronious, he says. Superfluous. The system is paradox. You can't control it from within.
Okay. Then he looks to the opinion writers, Gubbers and Wilbertson. The polychromatic polemics.
Right. And he doubles down. Their logomachy, their war of words, isn't a real debate. It's that diachistodecahedral jectation. Again, multifaceted, boastful, empty display.
How does he describe Gubbers, the fan?
As a sycophant hagiography of mufftus proportion, a worshipping biography of immense, maybe civilian-disguised devotion. She presents the directive as an advantageous panacea, a cure-all, Her defense is a sub-cherry Labius defense of the despoticism kitschism.
A secondary washing away defense of something that's both tyrannical and pretentiously tacky. She glorifies the power and the bad taste.
Exactly. And Wobertson, the critic, his dyspepsia circuitous vituperate, his indigestible roundabout attack just mirrors the same pro-abjectism he claims to abhor.
So Wobertson is just as bad in his own way.
Finchley Smythe calls him a querulous snarkist, a complaining smart aleck who, by trying to discombobulate the apparatchik, confuse the bureaucracy, merely produces a prosarcophagus farrago that ultimately serves as a doppelganger to the Directive's own garrulous obfuscation.
So Wobertson's angry rant just ends up being another confusing mess that looks just like the confusing mess he's attacking.
That's the argument. So, despite seeming like opposites, Gubbers and Wobertson are sympatric prokaryotic strains of the same etiological pestilence. Two slightly different bacteria causing the same disease. It reinforces his liminal dialectic. Their arguments, though opposed, are fundamentally similar in their grandiosity and confusion. They just feed the system.
Okay, but here comes the big twist in his analysis, right? The gossip column.
Yes, this is where it gets truly astonishing. Finchley Smythe declares Ophelia Oglethorpe's celebrity gossip column as the most salient and neurometamorphic of all the responses.
The most relevant and brain-changing. He thinks the gossip is the most important part.
He does. He says Oglethorpe divined the endocryptic schismatoria, binding the perfidious to the pellucid.
She figured out the hidden destiny connecting the treacherous parts to the seemingly clear parts. She saw the hidden human story.
That's what he suggests. Those celebrity problems she described, Thunderbunk's money fire, Crunk's love life, he sees them as epigenetic reflections of the hydrometamorphistic chaos that undergirds all complex systems.
He elevates the tabloid dirt to a universal principle. Personal chaos reflects systemic chaos.
Precisely. Esmeralda Underwing's awkward silence, the conslo, he calls that a post-act chronomorphosis of her relationship. The silence became a historical event, transforming her personal life within the Directive's framework.
Wow.
So Oglethorpe's gossip column, he concludes, is a dynamo-protropaic catalyst, a powerful thing that turns you towards something. It illegitimately and without provides a xenobiotic elucidation to the multivicientia of the entire phenomenon.
Okay.
Illegitimately and without support, provides a form clarification to the many knowings of the whole thing. So her gossip, even though it's maybe baseless, is the outside key that unlocks the whole confusing mess.
That's his incredible conclusion. The academic finds the most meaning in the tabloid gossip. It's a total inversion of what you'd expect, right? The frivolous source becomes the most profound. It completely challenges our ideas about where insight comes from. Maybe sometimes the deepest truths about intentionally confusing systems are hidden in the places we're trained to dismiss as trivial, especially if the confusion is itself absurd. Okay. Wow. Let's try and unpack this. We've been on a truly mind-bending deep dive today, haven't we?
We really have. From the IPPS Heed's Grandiloquent and Inenubilable rules seemingly designed purely to baffle through the fire and brimstone reactions of Muggy Gubbers and Lawie Wobertson.
And spinning into that completely unexpected celebrity tell-all theory from Ophelia Oglethorpe.
And finally landing in the dizzying, jargon-filled, yet strangely insightful analysis of Professor Alistair Finchley Smythe III.
Yeah. And what really emerges from this pile of contradictory documents isn't one clear answer, is it?
Not at all. It's more like a profound testament to how information, or maybe even the deliberate lack of information, can be twisted, interpreted, reinterpreted through so many different lenses.
Like Finchley Smythe concluded, maybe the entire conlacuna of documents, this whole collection, is just a single, an unknown thing, a diakystodecahedral apparatus of pure, unadulterated flossinaucinihilification.
Right. That massive word basically meaning estimating something as worthless. He suggests the whole elaborate structure might just be an exercise in generating, well, nothing of substance, noise designed to look important.
The real static fluxation of meaning is the only constant. The meaning itself is designed to be fluid, changing, maybe even completely absent.
So the big question we're left with, for you listening, what does all this mean for you? In a world that feels saturated with information, where even official-sounding rules can be elaborate performance art or coded celebrity drama, how do you decide what's actually meaningful?
Yeah, when does complexity cross the line into deliberate obfuscation?
Yeah.
And conversely, when might apparent nonsense actually signal something deeper, even if that truth is itself absurd? What sources do you trust? And how do you even begin to separate the real story from the pseudo-frictional subfictions that seem to be everywhere now?
how do you navigate, how do you protect yourself from the kind of convoluted, multivious, and ontologically fractious communication that this whole bizarre directive embodies, and which maybe feels increasingly common in our world today?